Hey, it's Miss Adair. Surprise. No. I'm sorry, this isolation thing is starting to get to me. I'm losing it. Anyways, chapter 29 of Stargirl. And she just finished her speech at the oratorical contest. She was amazing, so let's see what happened. Chapter 29. She won. Just as she said she would. The silver plate that they gave her twinkled like a starburst in a galaxy of flashing cameras. 2 TV crews washed her in lights and interviewed her backstage. Strangers mobbed her, citizens of Phoenix gushing, telling her that they'd been coming to the contest for years and they'd never heard anything like it. School children thrust programs in her face asking for her autograph. Every parent wanted her for a daughter and every teacher for a student. She was so happy and so proud. She yelped and cried when she saw us. She hugged each of us in turn, and I thought she would squeeze the breath out of me. Back at the hotel, everyone already seemed to know. The doorman, the desk manager, the people in the lobby and the elevator. Suddenly, she had this magical, wonderful power. Whoever laid eyes upon her smiled. And the English language dwindled to a single word, repeated over and over. Congratulations. We walked, we floated around the block to burn off extra energy. Back at the hotel, we were invited into the nightclub. Even though Susan and I were underage, we drank ginger ales and ordered jalapeno poppers, and we danced to a country western band while Susan's face beamed on the late news from the TV above the bar. The dance floor was the only place that she did not carry her silver plate. First thing the next morning, there she was, sliding under the door of my hotel room, her picture on the front page of the Arizona Republic. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at it, pride welling in me. I read the story. It called her speech mesmerizing, hypnotic, mysteriously touching. I pictured folded morning papers tossed from cars, landing in driveways all over Micah. We all met for the breakfast buffet. People stared and nodded and smiled and silently lipped congratulations across the restaurant. We headed for home in a 2-car caravan. For a while, Susan was in her usual chatty self. She put the silver plate on the front seat beside Mr. McShane. She told him it would ride next to him for all of 10 minutes. And he could reach out and touch it all he wanted. This was his reward, she said, for telling her about the MOAs. As soon as 10 minutes was up, she took back the plate. As we drew nearer to town, the chatter subsided and finally stopped. We rode the last miles in silence. She took my hand, and the nearer we came, the harder she squeezed. When we hit the outskirts of town, she turned to me and said, "Do I look okay?" I told her she looks great, but she didn't seem to believe me. She held up the silver plate and studied her reflection. She turned to me again and looked at me some time before she spoke. I've been thinking. This is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to hold on to the plate myself, okay? I nodded. Until they lift me onto their shoulders, and then I can give it to you. Understood? So stay next to me every second. Crowds can separate you, you know. They do that, okay? Her hand was sweating. We drove past a man in his driveway. He was dipping a large broom-like brush into a pail and painting the asphalt with black sealer. He was bent intently to do his work in the noonday sun, and somehow I knew at that moment what would happen. I could see it. I wanted to shout to Mr. McShane, "No, don't turn, don't go there." But he did turn. He turned, and there was the school in front of us. And never in my life have I seen a place so empty. No banners, no people, no cars. "Probably around back," Mr. McShane said. His voice was hoarse. "Like in a parking lot?" we swung around to the parking lot, and yes, there was a car and another car, and people, 3 of them, shading their eyes in the sun, watching us. 2 of them were teachers. The other was a student, Dory Dilson. She stood apart from the teachers, alone in the black, shimmering sea of asphalt, and as we approached, she held up a sign, a huge cardboard sign bigger than a basketball backboard. She set the sign on its edge and propped it up, erasing herself. The red painted letters said, "Way to go, Susan. We're proud of you." The car stopped in front of it. All that was left to see of Dory Dilson were 2 sets of fingers holding the sign on the edge. We were close enough now to see that the sign was trembling, and I knew that behind it, Dory was crying. There was no confetti, no kazoos. Nothing cheered, not even a mockingbird. And that's the end of chapter 29. So this isn't the celebration that Susan was expecting and she had seen in her vision. And I can only imagine the heartbreak and that hurt that she's going to feel, realizing that it didn't matter. No matter what she did, she wasn't going to be popular and people weren't going to love that and come and celebrate her. So all of this changing was for nothing. See you next time on chapter 30. Bye.